This is a video response to Bible Girl, and it's specifically in response to the notion that prayer can heal and have real-world consequences. And the reason why I'm responding is because I think this is somewhat of a dangerous claim. You don't really gain anything out of claiming that prayer works, that God will answer your prayers, except to be exposed to scientific inspection. And what I mean by scientific inspection is a scientist can come along and design an experiment to test your theory, to test your claim that prayer works. And just to give an example, let's say we have a control group of people who have just undergone coronary bypass surgery, and a test group of people who have also undergone it but are being prayed for by a group of people, say the local faith healing group. And neither group knows that they're being whether or not they're being prayed for. Well, after 6 months pass and the prayers have been conducted on the test group, you just compare the results of the test group to the control group, and whoever had fewer complications, if anybody had fewer complications, you can conclude that they were that whatever was going on there was beneficial to them. And if it just so happens that the test group, the ones who were prayed for, were the people who healed more quickly, well, then obviously prayer has some kind of influence. And you can increase the test size or reduce statistical error and make it pretty clear that prayer works or prayer doesn't. This is how clinical drug trials work. This is how trials for new kinds of medical procedures work, and it should be the way that prayer that tests for the effectiveness of prayer also work, if prayer is effective. And that's just the problem. All the tests that have been conducted so far by scientists who have eventually published their research in peer-reviewed journals have revealed no statistical benefit from faith healing groups or prayer therapy or whatever it's called. And well, scientists have a right to say this, because science is, after all, the study of the real world and things in it. And if you claim that prayer, which is something done in the real world, has the ability to heal people, which is another thing that happens in the real world, then science can study this. There's no spiritual component to healing. Well, I mean, some people like to say there is, but whether or not your heart is healed or whether it gets infected, it's not really that spiritual. A doctor can come in and check to make sure that you haven't had any complications. There's nothing spiritual to that. Science is perfectly capable of verifying whether or not you've been healed properly. And the only problem I have with the mentality that prayer works the way it's advertised, is that people can very easily take this to the extreme and deny their children licensed medical treatment on the basis that God will heal their children if He sees fit. And this is such a terrible tragedy that I don't even know why people don't do more to stop it. But it's a fact of the matter. And you know, these reactions by these fundamentalist groups are entirely predictable, because just like you, they believe that prayer can heal anything. Only they believe it to such an extreme extent that they're willing to put themselves in the position of the scientist to test their faith the way a scientist might test it, and to pray to make sure that God has the ability to heal. And I don't know. I think that it's in direct reaction to scientific inroads into many of religious different areas. I mean, take for example the notion of the Earth having been created 10,000 years ago. It's a very common notion in the U.S. and patently false according to any scientific journal. I mean, the world is at least 3.5 billion years old, and it's most likely 4.7 billion years old. But in spite of the scientific evidence supporting these statements, there is still significant controversy in the religious realm, both in Islam and Christianity, about the age of the universe and the age of the world. But I mean, come on! If it weren't for their religion, if it weren't for the fact that they based the existence of God and their personal happiness on the fact that the world is very young, how much controversy would there be? If it weren't for their biblical texts or Quran texts or anything like that, if it weren't for those things, nobody would believe in that silly idea. So I guess what I'm saying here is that as soon as you say that prayer works and prayer heals people, you pit yourself against science, the most brilliant minds at the time. And, you know, I'm sorry to say, they will lose every time against you, because you have an ulterior motive. And every time they try to convince